Hello, I'm Dan for Simple Silicon, and today I want to unbox and deploy a 48 port Ubiquiti Pro switch. So let's do that right now. Alright, so there's this nice little pull tab that if you pull, it makes it very easy to open the top of the box. There are some instructions here, 1, 2, and 3. They're very basic. They're basically telling you how to mount the switch to the rack. This box has your accessories. This has your screws. This obviously is your power cable. These are the ears that go onto the side of the switch, and at the very bottom of this box is a quick start guide. If we open this accessory kit, what fell out was some rubber feet that you can use. They have a sticky bottom. You see we have the screws for the ears. These will go into a rack that has square holes, and this is a screw that screws in to those nuts that you see right here. Here is an example that is already done. You can see at the top there's the head of the screw. Just slightly below that is the ear of the switch, and you can see, it's kind of hard to see in this video, but you can see the little darker area that's in the shape of a square. That is where those nuts will fit into. Let me show you that now. Now that we've went over all of that, let's unbox this switch. We can see that on the inside we have foam surrounding the switch. I would call this good quality in terms of shipping. I have unboxed, I would say, 12 of these ones since working where I am, and I haven't had a single one be damaged in any way. You can see that the switch comes in this papery fabric material, and I would argue that's mostly just to keep it from getting scratched and smudged. The foam is what keeps it from getting banged or otherwise dented. If we flip it over, we can see that it has a flap that we can just peel off. Let's take a look at the front. Here you can see that we have our 48 ports of 1 gig RJ45. Here, these are 4 10 gigabit SPF Plus connectors. Over here is a little LED screen. And since I have 2 of these switches right over there, let me show you that. So this is the screen lit up, and it's essentially just a little informational screen. If we do that, you can see we get some different cogs around here. There's information about the device. It'll give its local IP address. If we scroll through, we can see other information about the link status, how many days this thing has been up. There's the ability to see how much this is being utilized. You have its uplink and downlink and how much information is being moved across. CPU percentage and memory. The temperature of the device. You can see actually this one's a little bit hotter. If we go to settings, you can change things like the brightness of, keeps doing that. You can change the brightness of this display. You can change its color if you really want to. Anyway, that mostly covers the front. On the front with the side, this is where your ears are going to screw in. So these things, you can put them pretty much any way you want, depending on what your needs are. So if you want to put this thing flat up against a wall like that, you simply could position the rack part to be like this, and then you could screw it into some wood, and then it would be able to stay like that. A hanging rack or any other rack, it's pretty much just going to be with the ears on the front, and then this thing is just going to rest on these ears. There are not rails with this, but I have this sized port in racks that are vertical, with the devices mounting horizontal, and as long as you have a good stable rack, this thing isn't going to fall out. Just don't pull on it too hard. With that all taken care of, let's go and put the switch in its location where it needs to be. So we are here where the switch is going to go. Actually, it's not going to go in this one, but I did earlier today put a UPS here that's going to help power some networking equipment. The switch is going to go into this box right here, and should be, for now, the only device in this particular box. And let's do that now. So I'm going to borrow this desk just for this purpose, only because holding the camera and doing this is not going to be the easiest thing. I'm going to first start by removing one of the ears from the packaging. Set the plastic aside really quick. I'm going to open our accessory box. I'm going to take out one of our screws, our smaller screw, and the big ones are going to be used to mount the actual switch to the rack. To get it started, and these are flush mount. So get it started, you can just put it in there first and screw in. With both switch ears now in, we're ready to mount the device. This particular rack does not support these little nuts that I showed earlier, so they're just going to screw down into the holes. Since this is a hanging rack, this is very easy. I'm of course a bit rougher with my equipment, but you know, haha. This is technically in the rack. Since it's hanging, it's just going to hang there. So if this was the other horizontally mounted devices, you'd have to find some way to hold it up while you screw the stuff in. Hanging racks are nice. So all I have to do now is put the screws straight down in. Now that the device is in, we're pretty much done. This device won't actually be powered up for a few days now, but for my part, installing and configuring the device in its proper place is all that I needed to do. But that concludes this unboxing and installation of the 48-port PoE switch. Thank you and have a great day. Powering on the device is basically just putting in the power connector like that and letting the device turn on. We can see now that the device is started up. Now any sound that you are hearing of a slow hum is not actually the 48-port switch, but is the equipment behind. So these things are very quiet and they barely make any noise. So I've plugged in our switch and it shows right up at the top of our unified console in our device list. So if we click on this device, it'll give us our MAC address and its current IP address. I want to copy this because I want to document in my own documentation. And just copy that. It's a good idea to write this stuff down. Anyway, we are going to say adopt device. We notice on the front of the device that it says it's updating. It's important to know that a recent update changed the behavior of the adoption process, in where if the firmware on the device is old enough, it will have the device update its firmware first before connecting and being adopted. Apparently this is to fix some sort of adoption bug. You can read the release notes on some of the previous versions of the Unified controller, but that is the behavior for devices with old firmware, and this has been in a box for over a year and a half, so it's it would definitely have been very much out of date. If your device has a more recent firmware, that behavior might not be relevant to your device, right? Particularly if the firmware is new enough. It'll just adopt, and then if it's only a few versions out of date, you'll be prompted to update it. Now that the device is here, and we see that our DHCP server has given an address, I want to give it a static IP. So I'm going to click on the device under settings, network. We can switch this to static and type in our information. With all our custom information entered, we can go ahead and hit apply changes. With our changes accepted, we can see that it has the name that I've given it as well as the IP address that I want. If you've enjoyed that video, please consider hitting like and get subscribed. Leave a comment down below because we love to hear from you and for future video suggestions. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Enjoy.